Vinny, Cody, and Blake, get ready. 16th episode of the Reddit Golf Swing Analysis series is just for you. Ladies and gentlemen of the Line Golf Academy and guests, thanks again for joining us. This is the 16th episode of the Reddit Golf Swing Analysis series. In this series, we take Redditors who have sent their swings both front and down the line and offer them suggestions on how they can improve their motions. Keep in mind, this is not a swing tip series. This is basically a generality series where we just look at the cause and effect that's happening in their emotions and put them in the direction so they can go and speak with a certified teaching professional in the area to start their journey. It is highly recommended that everybody watching this does work with an instructor who can work with them on his or her emotions, as range emotions do play a part. With that in mind, I don't know any of these students. They just submit their swing evaluations. Some provide notes, some don't. But the more notes that they provide, it's better for me to understand them. However, it doesn't take away from me actually being there in person with them to do a range test of motion and also see what they're capable of doing with data metrics. So with that being said, let's have Cody's up first. And by the way, if you like this, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. It really helps grow the channel. And if you know anybody that wishes to get their swing evaluated, you don't have to follow Reddit. You can just submit a couple of front face on and down the line to the email below. So let's get started. Cody, you're up now. Cody, let's take a look at any notes that Cody sent. Okay, it's blank. So blank canvas. It's a little dark here, Cody, but I'm going to try my best to help you out here. Let's start right off the bat by drawing some lines. We got our spine angle line, our plane lines, and just a head brace line, and then we'll do a secondary spine angle just to see your slot based on where you start. Gonna look at the swing and motion and see what we have. Okay, all in all, pretty good motion. See a little bit of issues with the club head, keeping that a little square to your target and square to the club, your spine angle. I see a slight bit of shaft humping at impact. You can see kind of standing up at impact. Your head does move a little bit down as you take it back. You can see your head's kind of squatting down, and then you have to kind of push back up as a result of you squatting down. Club face is a little shut past impact and on the follow through. I'd be curious to see what your ball flight is. I do see your shoulders opening up at impact a little bit more than they have to, which could lead to some pulls, maybe some fades or slices with the longer the club you get. Definitely pulls with the short irons. Right off the bat, you can see you stand a little bit too close to the golf ball. I don't see much daylight in between your hands and your hips. I can see a little bit, but your hands are almost touching your hips. And as a result, your hands have to kind of go away from your body. And you can see as you take that club back, your hands kind of shoot up and away just to kind of create some room for themselves. And that leads you to be a little disconnected at the top. So the front view will definitely help us to see how disconnected you become. But transition-wise, look at your footwork. Footwork's pretty good. You see that drive kind of kicking out to your left heel, left toes coming up in the air. You're trying to spin around whatever spine axis you have. It's fairly close to your starting position, so you can see your impact's pretty good the way you get there. However, the way you get there, your momentum takes you up and left, which could be a little concerning for your ball flight in general. It looks like you're relying too much on your hands and arms at impact. But some of the things to note here, Cody, is as you take a look at your impact position, you take a look at your new spine angle. We'll draw your spine angle here. It's kind of hunched over a little bit, but there's your new spine angle. And then you're kind of losing some posture. So you're crashing into the ball slightly. Typically, the way you start out, it's very close to the golf ball, so you have to create some room somehow by moving up and away from the ball, which could be a sign that your basics aren't really covered. So ball position, I haven't looked at your grip from the front, but from the down line looks okay. But ball position, posture, your posture looks a little bit too hunched over and squatty, which does lead to some kind of cures in your golf swing, for lack of better words. You can really see how close you are. Let me get rid of these two lines here to kind of give you less stuff to look at. But look at where your arms are hanging. So your arms are pulling into your body. Ideally, they just want to hang from the shoulder sockets kind of straight down. And for you to get that, you might have to stand slightly closer and slightly taller so you don't have to feel like you're reaching down for it. So basically, just from this side, I see a little plane issue, but it could be caused by ball position. We'll tell from the other side. But most of the time, it's just that extra turn as you're coming through with your shoulders. Your shoulders should be square, maybe slightly closed at impact, and yours are slightly open, which will cause your path to go left. Now, when your path is going left consistently and you have club face open and closed, that can miss on both sides pretty quickly. More so with the pull hooks. So I wonder if you would do pull hook on occasion. But from this side, looks okay, other than those couple of things to start in your address position. So let's take a look at the front. Okay, Cody, so while we're getting you lined up here, let's just draw some brace lines here. So that right brace line and this tall impact line kind of helps us to see how you get down to the golf ball. And we'll do the same sort of things here to put that little box over your head. Starting position looks pretty good. So that ball position is pretty true to your spine angle. So there's your spine angle, and there's the ball position. Hands are going right in that triangle, so it looks awesome from here. So let's see where things go a little bit south from this position. Okay, so yeah, definitely some sliding going on, and that causes you to tip the other way, and then you have to tip back. And what I mean by that is, if you look at this right brace line here, as you get to the top of your swing, your right hip is shot out away from that, giving you kind of like a C looking position here. That's like a reverse pivot almost, because now your spine angle is straightened up. I'll draw a new spine angle line a little longer. You can see your new spine angle lines pointing back from where it first started. And then as you come down into your target, you're gonna have to rewrite yourself, and now it's pointing kind of where it should be. You've increased that spine angle line, so you're rocking around your head. Your head's doing a nice job of staying steady. However, when you rock around your head and you start thrusting your hips left and right, you're gonna start tipping under your head. So that's gonna cause another circle that you have to time. So you have the circle of your head, and then you also have the circle of the club. So now both, because you've changed your spine axis, it's going to change the bottom out point of your circle. And to time that is pretty hard. And as a result, when you finish, you're so busy trying to time yourself and get back, you kind of get stuck on your right side because you had to tilt back away from the target, that you get stuck. And then from here, just to make it feel good or finish right, you try and push everything you have left to have that follow through to kind of look the part. But it's more manufactured than natural. And you can see how this can cause a lot of contact issues. So specifically for this side, along with changing your address position from the other side to get a little bit taller and not so hunched over, is just look at that right brace line. So you want to stay inside of that, so that right hip should kind of move towards the target as you take that club back. By doing that, your arms should go lower instead of you picking up the club as much as you do. But maybe that is because your hands were so close to your body that you had to start driving, or tilting the right hip away from your target and then creating some room for your hands to lift up. So it's hard to tell which one came first, whether the address position caused that motion or that motion caused the address position. My bet is it's most of the time it's where you start the golf swing that things just have to get out the way, path of least resistance. So your hands and your body have figured out to create motion or create space so you can have the least resistance to move your arms and hands through. But other than that, your stability is good. Your range of motion looks pretty good. You definitely get a lot of turn. I think you can get more turn here, specifically with the lower body. When the lower body turns more, that upper body is going to come with it. So, look for definitely increased turn in your shoulders, not so much your hands. Your hands will probably be closer to if you get your shoulder turn a little bit more, let's just say you get it to here, your hands should be still out in front of you, and that club will look more like that. So, closer to that parallel. But you need a lot of turn to get to that parallel, which you can probably do because you look pretty athletic and very limber. But as you get down into it, you have to right yourself, your hands have to let go, and that's where you're letting go of all the power. So there's no conservation of angular momentum there. It's just basically trying to right yourself, and then that momentum is forcing you to close your hands down sooner. And also by you righting yourself, you might have to get your your shoulders to open up quicker, which gives you a little bit too much turn past impact. But hopefully that didn't confuse you. I might have confused myself a couple times there, but if you have any questions, just let me know in the comments below and I'll help answer them for you. But other than that, keep going, and I highly suggest you work with somebody once a month, once every other month, just to keep check on you, and maybe they see something completely different than I do, and that's okay. The goal here is just to help you open your eyes, my eyes too, to what we do, and cause and effect of one little tiny thing can cause a dramatic effect and impact. And usually do not worry about impact unless you cure what's causing that impact position. So hope that helps. Next up. Okay, next up we have Vinny. Now let's see, Vinny sent me the notes. No notes, all right, so no notes again. We'll just try our best and see what we have to work with. So let's just watch the swing a couple times here. Okay, it looks pretty good. All right, Vinny, I'm gonna guess that you play a cut, maybe a pull cut, or you could just be outside the in and leave that club face open just enough to hit a nice high straight shot. Occasionally I would kind of see this as maybe a pull, maybe the occasional rope hook every now and then, just because of those hand placements, but it's pretty solid. I'm looking at the overall motion of the body. I don't see much up and down. I don't see much in terms of the stability of the swing. Legs are working pretty good. There's no loss of centeredness, but let's take a look here. So we're going to draw some lines for you, Vinny. Okay, lower plane line, got that upper plane line. We're going to put a little spine angle line, the usual stuff, back brace line, and let's take a look now. Okay, club is maybe a little bit more turned to start, but that's okay because the hands are getting up pretty quickly, opening up that club face to your spine angle. Top position, do pretty good at the top. Coming back through, dropping the slot slightly over the top. Lower body's nice. Upper body's a little bit more open than needs to be. Good release point. Hands come back around, hands finish a little bit higher, but pretty good. You can see that club, look at that club, it's all parallel lines. I like to see that. So parallel lines all to your spine, and that's a pretty consistent motion there. Hard to guess people's handicap by the swings because, you know, swings lie. Handicap is mostly down to course management and playing within yourself. So basically, you know, especially your head too, your head does a pretty good job as well, staying still. Sorry, this mouse is killing me. Pretty solid. I'd say, if anything, if this was my student, and obviously we have to set goals first and figure out, you know, how much time you can practice and play, and we have to do a full evaluation on your game to figure it out. But if this was me just working on a couple things, I'd try and get a little bit deeper turn sooner. Looks like those hips aren't quite opening up as much as they should, which leaves you with less turn on the first third of your takeaway, and your hands kind of get separated and they go more of an upward path, and then they're kind of stuck to go straight back down, which gives you a slightly outside in motion. That relies you to kind of really flip your hands to time that. But I mean, as long as it's repeatable, there's nothing really I would change. You know, if you notice some misses drastically, both sides, left and right, I would start checking with that. But posture looks pretty good. Arms are hanging down nicely, look pretty balanced, but not much from here. Let's take a look at the other side. All right, Vinny, so we got the other side here. Another little forward press going on there, but let's see how you figure things out with that forward press. We got a little back brace line. I'm going to put your spine angle line. So your hand position to your spine angle line is pretty good. That ball is now behind your spine angle line. So whenever I see, that's technically a forward press. Whenever I see forward press, all of a sudden that club shaft is pushing out into no man's land over here. I know that some instructors like to connect it to the left shoulder, but now you've got two circles trying to square that club face up instead of just one, which is your chest and your spine, and your hands are just kind of connecting on that dot for the line. Whenever I see this, I do see either a delayed release or a path issue to cut across the ball, because if you do release the club from that position, it's going to be really hard. You're going to have a lot of heavy shots, some thin shots, and realizing your hands too much, which kind of explains why you have a little bit of an outside in motion to help you hold on to that delayed release. So let's take a look here. Okay, look good. You know, it just depends on what you're looking at to get out of the swing. I do see some power leaks that could be costly, but then again, you know, distances and everything. Can you hit it consistently the same with your clubs? I mean, is your dispersion, you know, at max 5 yards with each club? Then I wouldn't change a thing. But if you're finding out that maybe your directions are a little bit off, missing both sides, or that you have consistency issues. Let's say it's your 6-iron 160, but then 175, and then back down to 160. Those are the issues that really trying to help you jump to the next level. But in terms of you holding that release, you do it pretty good. Arms disconnect slightly from the triangle, and that's just, I believe, just because you don't quite turn enough with the hips to try and get a deeper turn to keep your hands closer to your body. They kind of go up and away, but really good connection up here as you drive down through. Now you're starting to drive down into it. Okay, so it's a little bit here, but then again, you don't turn your hips as much. So the drive, I'm always looking for that left hip to kind of activate first, and that's showing that you're pushing off. And it kind of delayed right about here is when it catches up, but that's when the moment of impact happens. You do a good job of holding on to that delayed release there, and now you can release it at that golf ball. All in all, this is a pretty solid motion. I don't see much you need to work with. Now, if this was me, we'd have a deep conversation of why I believe this needs to be more connected to that ball position. So that would require you to change your spine angle a little bit and also move your hands a little bit closer to that center. But since we're not working together, it doesn't really count. If you're not seeing somebody, make sure you do see somebody if you decide to change a few things, because you have a really repeatable motion. And the problem with that is if you change one slight thing, your whole swing just kind of collapses. It's so reliant upon each other. It's gotten to the point where it looks pretty solid and things work in unison with each other. So if you change something, it's going to just affect everything, specifically with your address position. So my recommendations, if you're not working with somebody and you wish to see maybe some more distance, definitely get that lower hip to involve yourself. Lower meaning that right hip as you turn back, keep your hands a little bit closer to your body, and so you don't have to cut across the golf ball. But other than that, it looks pretty consistent. If you are looking to, without notes, it's hard to just kind of throw stuff out there. But if this was somebody looking to, if they're missing the left and right, I'm looking at that ball position again at impact. So for me, it's all about address, grip, alignment, setup, posture, and that includes your ball position. So hopefully that helps. I know it's not a lot, but with somebody with this type of a swing, it's really hard to start, diving in there without really doing some serious harm. Because if they start listening to me and start changing things, the whole swing kind of collapses. So really, my best advice is to seek somebody out. But really good swing. Oh, I forgot to guess where people are from. Vinny. I'm just going to say Southern California. Hope that helps. Next up. All right, next up we have Blake. Now, Blake sent us an interesting video to try and diagnose. Unfortunately, we can't see the ball position. We can't see the footwork, so it's going to be very limited what I can do here. I can just basically go off the plane and what the torso is doing, and I can kind of see where the weight's shifting just by the head motion. But we'll try our best here, Blake, and hopefully, let's see if you have any notes. 9 handicap, trying to get lower. Tendencies to pull the ball to the left target. So at least there's some notes for us. But what we can try and do is just guess where this stuff is. So there's a plane line. There's a secondary plane line. So you can see how close your plane lines are together. So that means you're reaching for that golf ball. Your ball position is probably too far away from you, causing you to get a very tiny little plane to work with. So definitely get those arms lower, maybe ball position push back, but it's hard to see where that ball position is. I'm guessing it's at the end of this here because that's where your shaft is. On this side, we'll get a little right brace line going and an impact line going, and then we'll also look at some head motions to see what we can try and gather from this. We do have some datametric feedback down there, but we'll take a look what we have. The shifting of the camera, but it still works out fine. Okay, so definitely moving down, a lot of separation between the club head and the hands on the left side. You can see the club head is way behind your hands here. Arms are going up and away from you, which causes the club head having to try and stay on that plane as best as you can. So it disconnects from your hands and arms. It kind of goes on its own plane. Here you can see that right hip kind of jutting out underneath. So there's some weight transfer issues. I think you're trying to get a little bit too much turn as you go back to here. And you can see on the right screen, I'm not sure if that's even necessary based on where you are. I see what you're trying to do, trying to get that turn, but at what expense is that going to cause? Let's take a look. Okay, so you drop it in the slot at the top of your swing here. The camera system that you have doesn't really capture much. It stays in the plane there, and then I believe it drops below the plane. It's slightly disconnected. You see your arms are traveling away from your body, more slightly outside as they come through. As you strike the golf ball on the right side, you do a pretty good job. I mean, you're definitely staying in some spine angle there. There's not quite enough transfer. You can see kind of laying back at the finish instead of driving into the target. It's what we can do here is just limited based on what I see here. Lower body's definitely kind of rocking. So instead of turning on the way back, you can see from this position here, you're turning, and all of a sudden you kind of jut out beneath you, and that causes you to kind of stand up a little bit. And then on the way through, you drop in the slot, and you're trying to turn your best. Okay, so from what I can tell from this limited view is we'll put a back brace line up to make sure we're staying in our posture. Okay, it's pretty close. You're really close. I'd say you're on the right track. Definitely try and get your hands more connected to your arms. Your lower body's trying to do the best it can, but by that I mean connecting to your arms here. Arms are away from your body. You kind of you're hunched over to make sure that they stay in line. So just by the way it looks when you start this position, you just look very far away from the golf ball. There's a lot of unnecessary tension in the arms, so your arms are kind of pushing out instead of just relaxing. So even if it's 4 or 5 inches closer to you, so that might require you to stand a little bit taller and not move so up and down or left and right. So stay more in the center and just try and turn around. You try your best with that right screen. I see that you try and stay in your center. You do a little bit of jutting out, and I think that's just because you're trying to turn too much. And while you're turning too much, you're going outside of your resistance of your body, and to do that you have to stand up and get back to a normal posture, which for us is standing up, and that just increases your turn, but then it also starts shifting your weight incorrectly. So it'd be interesting to see a range of motion. If you haven't had a range of motion testing, I highly recommend it. Anybody with a TPI certification can do that for you. It takes about an hour, and they can really identify where your weaknesses are in the golf swing. And if you don't have the range of motion, you're going to lose posture to find those positions. So unless you're working with somebody that can really figure out what those positions are that need to be worked on and help stretch and help strengthen, you won't be able to physically get in those positions unless you break away from your initial setup. But all in all, just by this view, stand a little bit closer, arms relax a little bit more, try and swing more kind of in the barrel where you're not moving so much left or right. And remember, length does not equate distance. Length in your swing does not mean distance. I'd rather have somebody with more body turn and keeping their arms in front of their body versus somebody with less body turn and getting the clubs all the way in the back, or someone in your case that comes out of their positions to try and get that extra distance, only to have to retime that motion in a third of the time. So time is of the essence in the downswing. A downswing is all momentum based. So if your momentum's going in a different direction, you're kind of, lack of better words, you're kind of screwed because you have nothing else but momentum carrying you through that follow through. So position-based backswing equals good momentum-based downswing. It's not position-based downswing. If you have a position-based downswing, you're going to suffer. But if you want to, maybe shoot me another email with a different perspective, make sure you get the feet and also the ball position because that really helps out. And then, with a full range of motion so we can see where the club is falling in. But that's the best I can do with what you gave me. I can't really tell where you're from, somewhere in the basement, so I assume it's somewhere cold. I think that's a Green Bay Packers shirt in the background. If it is, you're a cheesehead. If not, I have no idea where you're from. So I'm just going to shout it out, Green Bay. Let's just stick with that, somewhere in Wisconsin. So hopefully that's it, and I know I've gotten a lot of support. I've gotten about 20 more videos, so be patient with me because it does take me some time to do these, and also I'm running 5 academies and also teaching on my own, so it really have to find the time, but I'm trying to get through this as quick as I can. So if you have videos ready for submission, just have a little patience, you'll be up. So thanks again for joining us, and I'll see you on the next episode. Fairways and greens.